My name is Ann, and I live in the metropolitan New York City area, and I am the mom of two adopted daughters. The older, who is 25, is the one who has been diagnosed with fear of harm. My personal low was the afternoon that I dropped my then 14-year-old off at a therapeutic boarding school. As you can imagine, getting to that moment was full of expenditures, time, money, energy, car mileage, etc. We had experienced lots of medication trials and errors. We had tried many therapeutic modalities. We had tried different schools. We were desperately seeking answers and had quite a stable of experts: psychiatrists, psychologists, neuropsychologists, occupational therapists, nutritionists, social skills experts, etc. We received differing opinions from all these experts about my daughter's diagnoses, up to and including borderline personality disorder, obsessive compulsive, oppositional defiant, chronic depressive, etc. We were exhausted from this wandering in the wilderness. This Hail Mary in-placement was heavily promoted by our team of highly educated and truly well-meaning professionals. And having no better solutions ourselves, we finally agreed to send her away. At drop-off, I felt like I was abandoning my child, who did not drink, do drugs, cut, act out sexually, shoplift, end up in jail, to live with a group of girls who exhibited some or all of these behaviors, and a staff really not qualified to deal with her issues. As I was getting ready to drive away, she looked at me with sad, desperate eyes and asked very quietly, "Mom, why do I say I'm here? That I don't do my homework?" What was left of my broken heart shattered into a million tiny pieces. That unsuccessful placement was followed by a wilderness program in hot, muggy Hawaii, a highly recommended therapeutic boarding school where she was in a room with 3, sometimes 4 other girls, hot and stuffy, and a very noisy night staff who congregated directly outside her bedroom door. Having not really graduated from either of those programs, we ended up sending her to a young adult transition program where she stayed for 1.5 years. She arrived back home really with a horrible sense of self-worth, and she had been provided proof daily that she was a failure and unfixable. In hindsight, our well-meaning efforts to help essentially remove my daughter from her safe things, people, places, and things, and consigned her to the worst possible environments and situations for one afflicted with fear of harm. New places, constantly having to interact with strangers, high density, heat, and she was expected to follow rigid schedules and protocols, being totally sleep deprived. After 3 years away, not cured and frankly less trusting and more fearful than when she left, we serendipitously crossed paths with Dr. Stephen Mattis, who just happens to be the president and chairman of the board of the Juvenile Bipolar Research Foundation. Dr. Mattis quickly collected and evaluated this cluster of symptoms that my daughter had consistently exhibited since birth and gave us a diagnosis: thermoregulatory fear of harm disorder. There was a name for my daughter's struggles. And this disorder is inherited, so her behaviors were not willful, but were symptoms. I mean, in full disclosure, there were several times I'd sat down with the DSM-4 and would sit there and read it, trying to figure out what was going on with my child. And I am not the only fear of harm parent who admits to this activity. Since receiving the FOH diagnosis, we have worked with Dr. Papolis, introduced ketamine, and gratefully embraced the world of the JBRF. While my daughter's final outcome is still unknown, our daily existence has greatly improved. Home is no longer a war zone. She exhibits less anger and irritability, and my understanding has greatly improved my frustration tolerance. Her anxiety is down. She no longer bites her fingernails. And this poor child often had them down to nubs with 2 or 3 infected. She has even gotten into an airport through TSA and onto an airplane. That was unheard of before. Doctor and dentist appointments are more likely to happen before I have to cancel 2 or 3 times. And her severe needle phobia, if I manage it right and give her plenty of time, I can get her to voluntarily walk into the lab to get her blood drawn. Sleep is improved with a combination of the ketamine and her own hack. 3 fans blowing directly on her all night long. Though, full disclosure, her closet door is still blocked by a large, heavy object, so the bad things can't come out of the closet and get her at night. She's also starting to share some of her life BK before ketamine. One particularly poignant exchange went like this. Mom, in your bad dreams, you wake up before the bad thing happens. In mine, my nightmares, the bad guy gets me, or I am engulfed by the flames. Imagine trying to go back to sleep after that. So besides knowledge, understanding, and compassion gained from the accurate diagnosis, I also have hope through the JBRF community. Being educated that the inherent thermal dysregulation causes the symptoms and the overheating, we have created cooling strategies. Personally, I benefit from the parent support group where we laugh, cry, commiserate, and share what cooling items we can currently purchase on Amazon. Whether a parent, a patient, a practitioner, or a friend, you have likely lived with or heard some version of my family story. I hope I have convinced you of 2 things. 1, fear of harm behaviors are not willful, but are an inherited and consistent cluster of symptoms linked to thermal dysregulation. And 2, there are proven medications and strategies available which can improve both the patient's lives and their support networks. Thank you.